Welcome to Desiderius Ripple podcast. In this season, we are diving into learnings from the Leadership for Green Transition, a training where we explored sustainability beyond environmental lens and as something deeply connected to how we lead, communicate, make decisions, and sustain youth organizations over time. Today, we are happy to be joined by three youth workers from our long-standing Italian partner organization, Cilento Youth Union, Giovanni, Luca, and Carmine. Giovanni has been active in youth work for over a decade, from a volunteer to board member, and is now leading communication and digital strategy for Cilento Youth Union. He has been shaping the organization's visual identity for years and recently brought informal education values into a classroom setting through a digital communication course for young people in Cilento. Luca is a youth leader actively involved in Erasmus Plus projects, both as a participant and organizer, especially in Rofrano, where Cilento Youth is based. He brings strong local engagement combined with European experience. Finally, Carmine, with more than 10 international mobilities behind him, has grown into a key youth leader within the organization. Through initiatives like the Cilento Youth Worker School, he has developed a strong understanding of how associations function, especially in rural and disadvantaged contexts.
It's great to have you all here. Welcome, and we're happy to have you on the podcast. So let's go back to the what Hannah said in the beginning. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the sustainability and leadership. And we mentioned also you coming from the organization Cilento. So you're coming from an organization that already works actively on sustainability issues. Did exploring sustainability through leadership and organizational practices at the training shift your perspective in any way?
Yes, actually it did. Our organization already works a lot on sustainability, especially in social sustainability and environment sustainability, because we are come from a rural area where giving opportunities to young people is directly connected to the future of our community. But the training made me realize more clearly that sustainability is not only about what projects you do, it's also about how you run your organization. In fact, things like decision making, resource management, or how you distribute responsibilities, even the pace you keep, all of these things has impact on sustainability of an organization. And yes, the training shifted my perspective from focusing mainly on activities to thinking more about the organizational culture and, of course, the long-term direction. And this was important for me.
For me, it was like about the training showed me how the internal sustainability of the organization can be improved because we need to take care of the team energy for long-term actions and programs. Giovanni was saying to organize our team and our work so we don't get burned out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Luca.
Thank you.
Carmine, would you like to add anything?
Me too. It's a very empowerment from our association to participate in more mobility and more topic. It's okay.
Allora.
Right. Yes. I think something that I would like to follow up. Giovanni, you touched upon this, that your organization is based in rural setting. And I think also something that Luca mentioned briefly, it's about organizing in the team, but also in a bigger community that you're present in. And probably it would be a question to Luca. In rural settings, leadership often emerges informally through small community actions. And in your opinion, how do you see youth leadership developing in your town and in your region?
In small places like Rofrano, you don't need like a title to be a leader. You have to show up with micro actions for the community and also for the organization because you don't need like the title of a leader to be the one who send the commitments and work to do to the others, but you have to take your responsibility and build something for the community, for the youth people of the place, and then you can see how I saw in Rofrano. For me, I saw the leadership growing in Rofrano when the young people um, stop waiting for the leader to guide them and started to taking care of their own spaces of the community and take care of the others and started to do the leader, but without a leader that
Make decision for them.
make
Right.
decisions for them.
So leading by example, which I think it's a very beautiful sentiment that you shared, Luca, that leadership is more agency and action bound than just about titles.
Yeah, I agree totally.
And at the same time, I would like to circle to Giovanni, following up on what Luca said, that you don't need a title to be a leader. I believe, Giovanni, that in your case, you have been having quite a few titles to yourself, especially in the organization in Cilento, and you've taken at the same time on different leadership roles through that, and including communication, education, and also being a board member. And I wanted to ask you, from taking these different leadership roles, what part of leadership is most underestimated by young leaders from your experience?
Okay, I think that the most underestimated part is the responsibility towards people, because when you start, you are very focused on ideas, on projects, opportunities. This energy is beautiful, of course, but leadership is also about relationships. So to connect with the answer of Luca is not so about titles, but it's like, for example, in our village, is small village, so it's about relationships. We know each other, everyone know we know each other, so it's about relationships and not only about the charisma or the titles, as Luca said. So the most important thing is to don't underestimate is to managing the expectation, supporting the members, dealing with the conflicts, and yes, sometimes you need to make decisions that are sometimes uncomfortable, but is a part of the process. It is important. For me personally, moving across the different roles helped me to understand myself and what leadership is. And is not about having all the answer, of course, because it's important to have to empower day by day and to ask yourself day by day if something is wrong or something is right. You need to have the curiosity to expand, and so it's important to create, to empower, and to create the conditions not only for you but even for the others to grow. And of course, this requires time, patience, and as I said, self awareness, because you know to expand the knowledge of yourself too.
Thank you, Giovanni. And I think it's beautiful that you mentioned the fact that, taking on these different roles made you not come up with more answers, but probably asking yourself better questions, and also about the leader that you are. And also, I think it's very important what you mentioned at the very beginning. It's not only about yourself, but also about the responsibility and sort of what is your part in the community and the organization, and how you can empower and support. And I think in this regard, I would like to ask Carmine, because you have an extensive experience in participating in international mobilities, and something that we personally encourage in our organization, but also see as a value probably in the Erasmus Plus network itself, is bringing the knowledge and capacities back to your organization, back to your communities once you participated in something. So we wanted to ask you, how do you ensure that the learning from international experiences doesn't stay personal but becomes organizational?
It's my question.
Sì, it's a question for you, Carmine.
Yeah, I have participated in many mobility, but in each mobility there are many different things from the others, the others topic and the participant. So, this is my.
And how do you take all of the different things that you are working on, that you had experience with? How do you take that back to Cilento, to Rofrano, to Cilento Youth Union? How do you share that?
I take too many experience, too many. You say many. Help me too many. I don't know. Call it, too many experience.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to the training and experiences from Zadar in beginning of 2026. Was there one session during the training that stayed with you more than the others, and what was it?
For me personally, it was like the Erasmus project writing session, because for me was the most useful, and it turns ideas into reality, because we learned that sustainable projects needs good planning, clear goals, and a real budget, because the planning of a project is not just about big dreams, but also you have to know what are you doing and what are you planning, because you have to make it more sustainable for the organization as possible. So
Thank you.
for me it was really useful, also because I'm starting to write projects and stuff.
Oh, this is so exciting, Luca.
Great news.
Thank you.
Okay. For me, was the session where we had the organization situation, and so it was the session about the practices and the strategic planning, where we had to pick the consequences and all that stuff, because it was useful for thinking more and more about the sustainability in the long term, because you have to think about which choice is better to us in this moment, and our this choice make effect in the long term is also it is even the same thing I write in the postcard, because that sustainability is to make choice that affects the right choice that affect in the long term, because I expanded the concept about sustainability, because before the training was mostly like environmental fine things, but with the training we expand the concept. So that session made me reflect, so our small choice can influence the future of an organization. And sometimes we are busy doing things, but we don't step back and don't ask ourselves where we are going. And yes, this session forced me to reflect about the choices. So was very useful. It was the most important maybe for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Yes, thank you. Carmine?
Yeah, for me it's the most important. I have learning the new methods, the new games, the new energizer, and I share with in the other project.
So from the youth workers' point of view, you find also a lot of new methodologies that you can use. Right. So maybe just I want to circle back on what discussion that we had, and how for me it's very remarkable. You mentioning living in a village setting and the smaller community, how this actually we can extract so many points about sustainability and organizational work just from living in a village. And have you mentioned it's not just about ecology, but it's also about relationships, how I have relationship with my neighbors, and it's also how we do what we do for each other. So in one way, when we talk about sustainability, we also need to talk about, this financial sustainability. We cannot expect my neighbor to do my work instead of me. Like a village kind of also has this representation, at least for me, about, organizational sustainability in itself. So I have a question for Luca. What does sustainable leadership mean for you as someone who started as a participant and grew into youth leader?
My idea of leadership changed as I grew in the Erasmus Plus program and also in our organization. Because when I was a participant, I always thought during the projects and during my first experience in Europe mobility, a leader of the youth group was just someone cool or maybe funny. But now that I'm a group leader in the projects, I know that is about responsibility for sure, because it means you have to take care of the group before, during, and after the projects. Because sustainable leadership for me means turning the enthusiasm of 1 week of project into a long-term commitment for the organization, like I did.
Great, thank you.
Yes, and I think probably in this regard, I would also like to ask Carmen here, because Luca, what you mentioned here, I think also gives us a very good context to think what actually sustainable leadership is, but also what is sustainability when we lead thoughtfully and meaningfully. Carmen, you have quite extensive experience working with disadvantaged communities. And I wanted to ask you, what does realistic sustainability mean compared to ideal sustainability in disadvantaged settings and in communities where with a lot of rural population, for example?
I think we need to find an approach that is somewhere between to realistic and idealistic sustainability.
Can you give us a little bit more juice? What would that look like?
Realistic. Oh, no.
Okay. We got it.
Giovanni, you mentioned earlier in our conversation that, particularly through the session, which I think was Visioning Sustainable Change, the session that you enjoyed the most, which made you realize that, it's about different aspects of the organizational work and it's not just about environment. And we would really love to hear your insights on this learning takeaways. Through the position that you take in Cilento Youth, you've been working with communications and leading the digital strategy in the organization. And we wanted to ask you, in this professional setting of yours, how does communication influence sustainability in youth work?
Okay, first of all, I will say that communication is not only promotion; is much more is much more than only promote or promotion, because communication for an organization, for an association, NGO that works in the youth work, it's yes, to promote the activities, it's to promote the Erasmus Plus project, the Erasmus program, but it's about how people understand the opportunities. So the important thing is to communicate and to be clear that people understand the opportunities that Cilento Youth or OAZA give them, and whether they feel belong or not. Coming from a rural area like Cilento, I've seen in my in the years with my experience that the communication can really change the perception of the young people have about what is possible for them, especially in a rural area as Cilento, because we are in Cilento we have less opportunities And if there is an association organization that can create opportunities, it's really important to them, especially if the communication is clear, honest, and accessible, because with these things, the participation could become more inclusive. And inclusion is a form of sustainability because it keeps the people engaged with the organization. Keep the people engaged, you build trust. And I think it's a thing that could be very, very sustainable in a long term for an association. But there are not only the aspect for the outside, there are also internal aspects, as we saw in various sessions during the training. It's important how we communicate inside the team, how transparent we are, how we share the decisions, how we make the empathy, how all of these affects motivation, well-being, and as Luca said, to avoid the burnout inside the team. So the communication for me, from my experience, from what I learned during the training during these years, is connected, very, very connected to sustainability, both externally and internally for an organization, of course.
Thank you, Giovanni. I think this is one of the reasons why we want to have this podcast for our participants to share their perspectives on the training through their own experiences, and particularly, in organizational context as you are taking. And I think it's a remarkable answer that you gave us, in a way that, you talked about communication, but you also mentioned quite a few things that come into good leadership that might be exhibited by youth organizations. It's about being accessible, being inclusive, but also managing, internal expectations, internal team dynamics. And also something that you mentioned at the very beginning is making sure that you're relevant for the young people that you're trying to work, and that the work that you bring to them actually needed by them, and not something that you just try to come up with the idea and try to mend it to fit it into the actual needs of the youth organizations. I think it probably very nicely leads us to the final question that we wanted to ask all of you. You've been all involved in youth work for years, and also in different positions and different roles. In your opinion, what kind of leadership does youth work need more of today, in your opinion? You can reflect either through Rofrano or through international experience, as you would like to.
I think personally that the type of leadership that we explored during the training was more near the collaborative type, because you need to involve the others of the organization to expand knowledge about also the bureaucratical stuff of the Erasmus Plus program, but also to take care of the activities of the projects, but also the maybe small local needs. So I think that the collaborative type of leader is more active in a group, in a team, but also how Branko said during the project, it's not about just one type of leader, but you have to choose the best aspects of every type of leader and put it in one. So you have the best leader possible in your team.
Thank you, Luca.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember that during the session that we positioned us in the square. I don't remember the name of the kind of leader where I put myself. I don't remember. It was next to the collaborative.
The coaching?
Yes, maybe yes, was there was that kind of leadership, yes, because I approaching, for example, with Cilento Youth Union, the Cilento Youth Radio. I'm the coordinator, and inside this we can we can call it journal. We can call it's our voice to we made podcasts and things, but blah blah blah. I'm the coordinator, but inside there are a lot of my friends. Even Luca is inside. So for me, the challenge is to be a leader, but meanwhile I'm a friend of a majority of that people. For me, it's impossible to be, the leader that make the decisions. You have to listen to me, not because they are my friend, but because I don't feel that kind of leader. I feel like a coach that if I know something more than you, I don't want to make that where I know and you still don't know, but I want to make less that gap. If I can't help, if I can help you with the knowledge, if I can help you with everything, I want to ensure that you can provide to empower. In fact, I think that the leadership really connected to the coaching is based on trust, collaboration, of course, authenticity, because I think leadership is not about control, but creating a space where people feel empowered and then take their responsibility. So, as I said before, being a leader is not having all the answers, but staying consistent with the values that you have. When people maybe, as I think, is not the trust, but I think when young people recognize you, the authenticity, they trust you. They probably trust you more.
Thank you, Giovanni. And Carmine, you have the last word.
Yeah, I think the leadership it's based to vision, empathy, and commander. Some like the commandante. No. Yeah, no. I don't know. So leadership, yeah, it's based to more vision, to more with the competence, to learn on the competence, on the task management.
When we talk about leadership and now hearing you and your perspectives on this, I think for me, being significantly above your age, I'm very confident and happy to have people like you interested in taking leadership roles for the future, the youth environment, the youth work, but generally for where our future is going. To have listened to your answers and your perspectives, so this kind of gives me faith in the future of what's going to come. So thank you for this.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Molly.
Thank you, Giovanni, Luca, and Carmine for being part of this conversation and for sharing openly and honestly, authentically, as Giovanni said, because this is the way for us to build trust also with each other as youth workers and as people who certainly want to make our organizations better. Thank you also for bringing the Ripple into your organization and youth work in Rofrano. You are doing an incredible work and the impact that you're bringing into your community, which we're very happy to hear more about today. And thank you to our listeners for staying with us and for listening to this conversation. Stay with us as we continue this series of Desiderius Ripple, where we explore how learning spaces turn into lasting change.